Good afternoon, everybody. Go ahead and take a look at today's price action. Overall, we're still just range bound. So still stuck really from this high down to this low. We were able to wick through that low today, so I'd actually like to see if we don't want to make a pass at the high going forward. But we'll worry about that later. As we head down to 1 hour, same idea. We've been speaking about as long as we can maintain the daily fair value gap, we'll still look for higher price. So we're not really worried when price starts wicking through like this, right? Even this move here, we had a Trump tweet, which ended up causing a little bit of chaos. But on a lower time frame, you'll see there's still precision that is able to be found within that. So on the 1 hour, we end up creating short-term low. We wick that once, run up into this higher time frame 1 hour, break back down, picking up a short-term low, and then the actual daily swing point, long-term low here. And that's why I'd actually like to see if we don't want to push and try to clear some buy side at this point. We'll go straight down to the 1 minute. So to start today, we were inside of this small consolidation. Price had already closed above the 1 hour fair value gap. And we wanted to see if we couldn't actually reach for some more buy side targets. So we had highs here, just some short-term swing points that we were trying to see if price couldn't reach up into. So this will become kind of an objective for later as well. But as we're aiming for this, right, coming off the 1 hour, we see how price is being held at a first presented. Unwilling to get above that. Body's unwilling to get above that as well. And then we break back inside the 1 hour, creating the first presented for today here. So at this point, price now starts aiming for sell side, right? Aiming for the relative equal lows. You'll see how we create this short-term low later, or to be used later. But in the meantime, right, we hold the first presented. We start now trading deeper into the 1 hour fair value gap. We close below midpoint. We would expect now that midpoint offers us resistance. So we get nice delivery into that. And from there, we break outside of the 1 hour, closing below the 1 minute. That's also paired with that. So once we see that, we then would expect that to become an inversion and send us into these relative equal lows. Price wicks up into its midpoint, closes below the 1 hour again, and then it actually uses the 1 hour here as its new area of resistance. So as we close back below it, notice that the wicks are going into it, but the bodies are remaining below. And then we got the release, picking up some short-term lows, but actually falling short of this sell side here. So at this point, we're just engineering more liquidity. And that's what we see here, right? The Trump tweet ends up running that. And that's kind of why we say that the news events aren't ever random, right? They could be unexpected, but the move's already kind of priced in, right? It's running to a very specific area, sell side that was already created, and we were still able to capitalize on a move higher following that. And we'll kind of explain that now. So as we trade lower, we create the short-term low. We're still wanting to see some type of run back up into today's first presented. So at this point, as we create this bullish framework, we have a bearish fair value gap that gets inverted. Bullish fair value gap aligned with it, that becomes a balanced price range. Right, aside from that, we're clearing the short-term low, YouTube model, breaking structures at the high, creating a bullish breaker, and we had, right, a first presented here as well. So a lot was backing this idea. That's why you can trust these longs into the first presented. So as we get into our first presented, right, notice we then reject from there. That's when we get the tweet running to a very specific level in price, the original sell side here. So now we're out of that position. And we see a full short, and then eventually we get a perfect wick. After we've run that in the short term, we then retrace into that bearish value gap that we created, creating one more run onto the short-term low. And at this point, we started looking for longs again, right, just to target the first presented. So for us, as we can get back above the original framework, which was here, the 1 minute, as price closes above that here with this candle, we now trust that that area will hold price. So second entry comes there. Same idea, stop below the low. And then again, just targeting the first presented. Price has already shown that it's really unwilling to venture any higher than this original buy side. Once we create the first presented, that just becomes the low-hanging fruit. Very easy exit point, right, without demanding too much in price. So once again, as we trade up into that, we get another huge sell-off, this time actually breaking through the low. Right, so that's important because as we now close below the low, Right, notice the first time we weren't able to, second time we do. We then leave that fair value gap, and that becomes our institutional order flow. So price wicks up into that, into the small volume imbalance, breaks lower underneath the daily fair value gap, attacking the short-term low. After we clear that short-term low, we just give a retracement back up into the fair value gap. Right, don't forget we have a lot of time-based PD arrays as well. So we have our opening range, we have a new week opening gap, midnight and 8:30 opening. So as price is running into this, right, it's respecting the structure, but it's actually holding the time-based PD arrays as well. From there, we get one last run lower into the actual objective, which was the daily low here. So this is a daily swing point, right, higher time frame low here. So as you run that, that's why we get a quick rejection. This becomes a classic Persian revert. So another opportunity, as we run out that low, we respect it once, twice perfectly. We then displace above it. We would now expect that that old sell side becomes an area of support, and the most recent low becomes the new swing low. The good thing about these type of setups is, especially if it's met with speed, right? So if we see a quick speed to reach into that liquidity, it's often met with speed as it retraces back into the range, and that's what we see here. You'll notice that as we left midpoint of this fair value gap open, after clearing sell side, we draw perfectly right back up into that. So once again, not random, very precise levels. That's why we're saying this stuff, right, may be unexpected at the time, but if you understand what you're looking for, it's never surprising, and you can very quickly pick up on what the next move will be. Clear the daily low, displace back above it, use it as support, trade into the daily fair value gap where we consolidate, create relative equal lows. We still have the idea that we're going to reach into midpoint of this fair value gap. So as you run out short-term lows, that becomes turtle soup. Holds the daily fair value gap perfectly and then displaces away. Halting at the midpoint, but now at this point we still expect bullishness. Right, so the most recent discount becomes our new area of interest. We would expect that the higher time frame, or excuse me, this higher 1 minute that was created on the way lower will act as a speed bump, but eventually we should get above that and use it as support. And that's what we get later on in the day. But in the short term, this offers another opportunity. So at this point, we're in the lunch hour, which is why we see the choppiness, but we still have the idea that we want to see, right, first presented, and eventually we wanted to get a new high of day, which we were able to do. But for the most part within here, right, multiple opportunities, midpoint would be the best entry. But as we start picking up these short-term lows, we could turtle soup that, trusting that we will not venture back below the daily fair value gap. So from here, we run higher, trading into our first presented once again. We get above our first presented, indicating that we could then actually attack the buy side, right? So that gives us confirmation that we could look for continued bullishness. We do give a little bit deeper retracement just into, right, the original inversion, some higher time frame inefficiencies. Right, we have the 5 minute as well. But if we still have the idea that we want to see higher prices, especially, right, we're still remembering we have a lot of first presenteds within here, this becomes a nice turtle soup entry. So we have the expectation that buy side becomes a target. Consolidation like this is just building liquidity. As we run out that short-term low, we have an opportunity to buy there. If you want to wait for confirmation, you look for the displacement back above, creating a new discount, which it does here, and now that's another opportunity. So you could use that to target the original buy side. Once we clear that buy side, we're heading into power hour now. I wanted to see if we couldn't get one last run on the actual buy side. So you'll notice that as we clear high of day, we're doing that with displacement leaving a fair value gap. We expect those fair value gaps to hold us if we're bullish, and that's what happens. So sloppy delivery still, right? A lot of consolidation, kind of like we're seeing in here. But eventually we do get that run. And we're able to clear buy side one last time before closing out the day. So after we clear out the buy side, we have one last run up into the rejection block. We then break structure through the low, and now we hold the bearish fair value gap that was created. So we hold that, we retrace back down into a first presented, today's first presented as well. And then from there, we're really just consolidating at this point. So overall, not a bad day. Right, it may look like a lot of nonsense, a lot of back and forth. But if you understand what you're looking for, you can still find precision. right? It's still delivering to clear objectives, but it's just having a lot of wonky delivery because of the manual intervention with the Trump tweets and things like that. Going forward, as we said, I'd still like to see if we don't want to run out buy side. So this becomes kind of the immediate target, this little short-term high. But eventually, I'd like to see if we don't want to venture up to the actual high, new all-time high. Right, I like that buy side with the 4-hour inefficiency, though, in the short term. So as long as we can still hold, what's our daily fair value gap? As long as we can continue to hold that level, we'll try to run for some buy side. Tomorrow, we'll be meeting a little bit earlier than usual, 8:25. We'll hang out for about an hour and a half before I have to head out. But yeah, plan for that. Early stream, a lot of news at 8:30, so it'll be interesting to watch that. Until then, have a good night, everybody, and we will talk tomorrow morning. Take care.